Okay, I think we went live just as I was adjusting the camera there. Hello, one and all. Just got to get my chat happening as well. So use here. Mix my drink a bit. I made a lime cordial. Not like Cotty's cooler lime. Not wanting to sound like a snob. I like Cotty's cooler. I got this lime for my cocktail making. So I've not really done that before, so I'm not sure what it will taste like. I might have to adjust flavorings in it. But anyway, who's in the chat room? Dr. Obama and Luke and Belinda. Hello. No, I did not watch the debate. I guess I have a very low opinion of what the media will do with said debate. I mean, it's certainly not going to change my opinions about who's worth voting for. Bloodthirster, hello, Catherine. It's just a lime cordial, Catherine. And it's a bit of an experiment because I haven't really just made that before. I have a sort of bar mix lime cordial that goes in. Oh, speaking of cocktails, before I forget, this might got some reading matter. I was out today doing various things, and I found another cocktail book, and it's only $10, so I see what it's on. Dr. Obama, you reckon Shorten came out strongest in the debate? I have to admit, I'd be very surprised if Scummo came off best, because he's got nothing, really. Catherine, how many cocktail books do I have? 2 now, plus the internet. I often get stuff off the internet. Oh, and I've got this little funny flip card thing, which I'm sure I've had on the chat before. This sort of flip card thing I have that Mrs. Angry found in one of those neighborhood little libraries. And speaking of regular attendance, hello, come up here, Mimsy. Yes, she's come in to say hello to you all. There you go. Yeah, so yeah, I just got this one today, and I flicked through it before getting it, and it does have cocktail recipes I haven't seen before, but it's got a whole reference bit at the start. It also has juices and smoothies, an introduction about the history of alcohol and cocktails. Then there's a chapter on bartending techniques. Oh God, predictably, it has a picture of Tom Cruise from the 80s movie Cocktail. Well, there's a section on alcohol and health. Alcohol is not healthy. Don't fool yourself. It's bad for you. Even I have no illusions. Even infrequent alcohol is bad for your health. So little things that a bartender should have that I don't. All the different glasses. Section on garnishes, which goes for pages. And there we go, classic cocktails. Finally into the actual, I know, now there's just a treatise on the different spirits. And that goes on for many, many pages. Liqueurs, brandies, amaretto, absinthe, anise, parfait amour, punch, wine, champagne, fortified wine. So up to page 100, and we haven't even got to any actual cocktails yet. It's just all the history and background, which, you know, good reference book, honestly. You could do some school assignments on this. Non-alcoholic mixes, fruit juices, sparkling beverages, syrups. I got up to page 130, coffee. Finally, making cocktails. We do not get to cocktails until page 136. Yeah, Bloodthirster. What you're telling me about Scummo, no surprises at all. The liberal talking points in fearmongering. He's got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. But yeah, okay, the gin's pretty standard ones. We've got Gin Fizz, Tom Collins, Gin Cocktail, Gin Swizzle, Gin Sour. What do they say is in a sour? Gin, lemon, and a bit of sugar. Okay. Martinis. Well, see, here's some names I don't recognize. A horse. Do you like the book, Mimsy? Belinda thinks you. I mean, Dr. Obama thinks you look. No, you're gonna make a liar of Dr. Obama. That's so rude. That is so rude. How many pages does the book have? It's got like 380 pages. So, you know, I've got a good 250 pages of cocktails, apparently. A horse's neck. I've never heard that as a name for a cocktail, which is just gin, lemon, and ginger ale. It's a pretty extreme name for a drink, though, isn't it? A horse's neck. A My Fair Lady is gin, orange juice, lemon juice, creme de fraiche, which would be a strawberry liqueur. And egg white. See, I love egg white drinks. I love egg white drinks. Much for that. Gin Fizz, Gin Cobbler, a Perfect Lady. So we've got My Fair Lady, a White Lady, which is White Lady is a classic, which is a nice cocktail, which is just gin, Cointreau, and lemon juice. Yes, Scummo hates what do we call it? Eurovision, and Eurovision fans hate Scummo for making the election happen on the same night as Eurovision night. Hey, Rada Scorpion, you're feeling strong by the looks of those emojis. What's a Perfect Lady? Gin, peach brandy, lemon juice, and egg white. I don't have any peach. I have a couple different brandies. Well, oh no, I think I actually finished my Calvados, which is a French apple brandy. I want to try the American version. The American version of apple brandy is called Applejack. The French apple brandy tends to be made from the more tart apples, and the American Applejack tends to be made from the sweeter apples. I think I might get some Applejack, or maybe I should stop buying alcohol. What do you think? The peach brandy. I've got normal brandy. I used to have apple brandy, and I don't anymore. Yes, Safa, definitely no endgame spoilers, no even hints. Super, what's it made like $1 billion in the first weekend? Something phenomenal like that. Absolutely amazing. For a 3-hour movie to get that many people in is quite amazing. Was that a gin Ricky? See, these are just gin, lime juice, and soda water. That seems pretty boring. I knew you wouldn't suffer. I'm just throwing it out there. See, I don't like full cinemas. I tend to go to Gold Class with Mrs. Angry on date nights. We might do that this Saturday, in fact, or this weekend, depending on what time the sessions are on. There are, you know, fewer seats and great big comfy chairs and a big screen and thundering loud sound, like absolutely thundering loud sound. In fact, look, while we're talking, I am just going to look something up on this stupid slow laptop. See if I can plot out a date night while we're talking. Oh, if I go to see Aladdin in Gold Class, I'll get a special key ring, which is the lamp, and I have no interest whatsoever. I'm not ragging on anyone who does want to see it. That's cool if it's your thing, but I have literally zero interest in watching, well, actually any of the Disney live action, well, you know, computer generated. Things like The Lion King aren't live action at all. They're completely computer generated. Let me see, what time are they running? Friggin'. Oh my God, I'm just looking at, they're having like cinema sessions, which is okay, 9 to 10 o'clock is a normal time for a movie session. But 3 hour movie, that means, particularly if there's one at 9:45, you're not getting out of the cinema before 1 a.m. That's a bit much, honestly. It's honestly a bit much. But yes, it's all a bit ripe. Oh my God, that's right. Disney's having their own subscription service, isn't they? You're saying, Luke, oh yeah, because Disney bought Fox, didn't they? So that means they bought The Simpsons. So Lisa's a Disney princess. That's the big question, Safa. Who had to do a toilet break during Endgame? Yeah, like you get those giant cups of drink at the cinema. Who would be foolish enough to get one of them in a cinema? Honestly, a 3 hour movie, and I'm going to have half a liter of drink. Seems like very poor planning. You're not going to last the 3 hours. When was the last time I really had to go to the loo during a movie? Was that long ago? I think it was The Matrix. I remember having to, I don't know, just bad planning on my part, not going to the loo before the movie and having a big drink in the movie. I couldn't wait. I went to the toilet. I think it was when Cypher was meeting with Agent Smith to sell out all his pals. Luke, that's a Boy Scout solution. Drink your big drink and then use the empty cup to piss in. I can't see that causing any problems at all, buddy. That would be completely acceptable. Dr. Bromo's special screening of Monty Python's Life of Brian. I bet it was full. That doesn't show in cinemas very often. But yeah, I honestly don't think I've had to leave a movie since the Matrix. Look, I made a paper plane. You won't see how well it flies. I just had a little receipt, and I don't know why I decided to fidget and make a paper plane. I will give you an honest appraisal of how well my paper plane flies. Not great, honestly. Made it across the bench and then straight into the floor. Belinda, have I ever walked out of a movie? I don't think so. I've stopped watching them on TV and like stopped watching them on disc because it's just like, oh no, this is not worth my fucking time. I don't think I've ever walked out of a cinema though, mainly because of how much you pay for it. I think I've told the story before when I went and saw Mad Max Fury Road that upset the MRAs because Max wasn't really the lead character. Furiosa was, and they were so upset that you know, the women's had taken over. They were talking all this shit online, which was just depriving themselves from seeing an absolutely fantastic movie. But I went to see Fury Road in gold class, which costs twice as much as a normal cinema, right? And this guy, I don't know, the first half of the movie, he got up going, oh, like so everyone would pay attention to him, and stormed out. I was going, good job, buddy, drawing attention to you're a total cockhead. Wasting the $50 on a gold class ticket to make a point, and no one fucking cares, man. No one fucking cares. What movies have people walked out of? Luke walked out of Jackass 3D. I can see that being pretty boring, actually. Big Boy, you walked out of Buried and Master of the Skies. I don't even know either of those films. Yes, IMAX is more expensive again. You're right. Luke, you've walked into the wrong movie and just stayed to watch the wrong movie. What that happened to Otto on The Simpsons? He was going to see some really trashy movie, but then he went and saw a deep and meaningful British film about the miners' strike. It might have been the Itchy and Scratchy movie he meant to see. And you thought he'd be upset because everyone's enjoying the other movie, and then it cuts to Otto being the only one in this cinema with this really deep and meaningful film going on, and he's in tears and he's just going, "This is so wrong. Curse you, Mrs. Thatcher, you have blood on your hands," which was just so nice to see him getting into it, really. Big Boy, they were such garbage, I don't think I've heard of them. See, I don't, I will watch on TV and occasionally on disc, to Mrs. Angry's confusion. I will occasionally watch a movie I expect to be terrible if it's going to be spectacularly terrible, like Gods of Egypt, that thing where everyone in Egypt is white. Like it has, what's his name, Christian Bale in a lead role as Moses. And I just thought, this is going to be spectacularly bad. And it was really bad. So for now, I don't have a 4K TV. I suppose it's Sony My TV, so it's not super cheap. But I think because it's not 4K, I think the model I got, which again is not huge, but yeah, it's pretty big because all TVs are pretty big these days. I think because the 4K ones had come out, the ones that weren't 4K were cheaper. So yeah, I've had it for quite a few years. Every now and then, you see some ridiculously fucking huge TV, like ones that are basically twice the size of mine, and they're $1,000 or less than $2,000 for a ridiculously huge TV, and it's occasionally tempting. But there's nothing wrong with my TV, so I don't need a bigger one. As much as in the abstract, you go, oh, huge TV, cool. Yes, I know at the trade show stuff, Samsung had an 8K TV, and I know they actually had one, like they got the stage where they can make them to fill a whole wall, however big a wall is. They've got the software to basically slot together a whole bunch of 4K or 8K TVs to be as big as you want and produce a flawless picture. So rich people have something to spend money on, basically. Big Boy, you binged watch the Hyacinth Bucket show. Is that what it's named? Lady of the House? Because I know it didn't actually refer to the bouquets. Dr. Obama, you walked out on Zoolander 2. See, I wouldn't have gone to see Zoolander 2. I'm trusting your judgment on these ones you've walked out on, but these are not ones I will pay to see. Belinda, oh, good movies, yes. Weird and creepy, Get Out. And I haven't seen the dudes follow up Us. I don't know if I've even missed it in the cinemas. I'll have to let me double check that. Now I'm thinking of it actually. Wait, by movie, who's showing Us? Is anyone still showing Us? Because that looked super creepy. Another Jordan, what's he name? Jordan Peele film. And I mean, honestly, because, okay, the Key and Peele sketch comedy show was really good. Like, it was a great show. Considering the limitations of sketch comedy, it was a very good show. This thing doesn't want to load on this stupid laptop. I'll come back to it. I was going to see if anyone was still showing Us. And then, yeah, Jordan Peele's making a horror film, Get Out. And you're like, okay, comedy guy making a feature film that's a horror film? Okay. And it was fucking great. It was such a good show. Absolutely. brilliant movie. Such a good movie. So you, David, if we're getting into things like The Human Centipede, that's just gross out stuff. Yeah, The Grudge. There was that rash of Hollywood remakes of Japanese horror films. Oh wait, are they still doing? Yeah, okay. The Village People. Oh yeah. No, there's still quite a few arts only. No, I could go during the day because I've got a job interview tomorrow that I'm the hot favorite for the job. So I might have a new job as of tomorrow. We'll see. Oh, look, I saw the Simpsons movie in the cinema, and it had that fun bit at the start where Homer said you were a sucker if you watch a movie version of something you can watch for free on TV. He points out at the audience, what a sucker. You know, you're a sucker, and especially you. Dr. Obama, I do remember the Australian sketch show Open Slather. I gotta be honest, Australian sketch shows tend to waver between tolerable and complete shit. And there are very, very few that ever elevate themselves above tolerable. I mean, it might be. That's just my tastes. You know, it's different people like different things. I'm not going to be particularly shy about things I don't like, but I try not to look down on people who like things that I don't like. Hey, Belinda, there was Fast Forward back in the day. Every couple of years, it's like there's a sketch comedy show. And look, they all have their occasional moments. But I've never been sort of, completely in love with any Australian sketch comedy show. Luke, you like Whose Line? Maybe it's just because I'm a theatre person and I've done a lot of improvisation. I find Whose Line repetitive. It's not terrible, and lots of people love Whose Line Is It anyway. And like I said, well and good. It's just I've never been hugely into it. Oh my God, Safa, Transformers has been rebooted with Bumblebee. I've actually heard good things about the Bumblebee movie. I'll wait till it's free on Foxtel or Netflix. But Transformers, shit movies. Again, don't really want to offend anyone. And if they're your thing, that's completely cool. But I guess one of my big problems with any incarnation of Transformers is it was created solely to sell toys. The toys weren't an add-on. Like when Star Wars got popular, they sold toys to cash in on it, and lots of movies have toys to cash in on. But Transformers was specifically preconceived as nothing more than a vehicle to sell toys. So when I see adult humans taking Transformers movies seriously and talking about, that's not proper canon storyline, like, for fuck's sake, it's to sell toys. Why? I mean, enjoy it if you want and don't enjoy it if you don't want, but why the fuck are you invested in something that was solely to sell toys? Ooh, Saf asking the big questions. What's better, the UK office or the US office? I don't really have an opinion on that. My short answer would be they're very different. Obviously, the first couple of seasons of the US office followed the UK office almost exactly. But where the UK office finished with David Brent getting sacked, that element in the US office, he got his job back. The boss got his job back. I was actually talking about that because Mrs. Angry watched the first episode of that new Chris Lilly show on Netflix. And yeah, she laughed once or twice. I asked what she thought of it. It's like, well, he's just doing the same thing he's done in every other show, dressing up in costumes and putting on accents and making fun of people. And I'm really over cringe humor, actually, particularly because humor that's designed to make you uncomfortable, particularly when it's at someone's expense. I mean, talking about the UK office in particular, David Brent was, and I mean this in a good way, he was like the high point of cringe humor. You know, he was just an awful boss and an awful person, and he is so clueless and had such an overinflated opinion of himself that you're cringing the whole time, like, oh my God, he's so awful. And that was the source of much of the humor. And he actually made a movie a couple of years ago about the David Brent character called Life on the Road. And I started watching that, and I'm watching it and I'm going, I can see this is as funny as The Office, but it's just all this awful cringe stuff. I was like, God, why do I want to watch something about awful people behaving in an awful manner? It's like self-flagellation. So I stopped watching it after about 20 minutes. Yes. David, you're looking forward to the new version of Dune. I will be very interested in the TV. It's a TV series, isn't it? It's not a movie, is it? It's a TV series rather than a movie, isn't it? Suffered by Netflix show that got cancelled. Do you mean one of my favorites, Santa Clarita Diet, that I'm like heartbroken about because it was such a good show? Suburban housewife becomes zombie, and they twist the whole thing and have so much fun with the family trying to stay normal while the mum's a zombie. I don't know why, probably because it was called Santa Clarita Diet. I thought it was literally, I thought it was a chick show. It was about dieting. And I didn't watch it until the second season was out, and immediately loved it. And then a third season came out not long ago, and then Netflix announced they're not doing any more after the third season, which is terrible. But if you haven't watched it, thoroughly recommend it. There's 3 seasons. It's very funny, great characters, great acting, great messing with the zombie genre. And who knows, they or another network might bring it back if everyone makes a big noise about it. Dr. Obama, have I seen Gattaca? Yes, that old movie about genetic engineering. Ages since I saw that movie. I did see it. Like Uma Thurman and what's his name? And there's some future where, you know, they genetically test you to test your suitability. And this guy wants to be in their space program or something, but he's got a congenital heart defect, so he can never pass their tests. He's going, oh, there's no test for the human spirit. I'll do it with moxie and grit. And it's like, I just remember thinking at the time, fuck off, dude. You got a serious heart problem. Just because you're convinced you'll be fine. And honestly, even if you did do the thing and end up being fine, I mean, just statistically, they're making a smart move by going, no, this guy has a heart problem, he'll probably die, and we've got 100 other people that don't have heart problems who want to be in the space program. So we won't include the guy who has a heart problem. I just thought that the central premise of he should be able to do this high-stress, dangerous job even though he has a congenital heart problem, I just found that really stupid. Like, they're doing the right thing. What are you talking about? Of course they're in the right. Like, just because you're sure that your spirit is so strong that you'll triumph over adversity. It just doesn't make sense in terms of risk assessment to include someone who's a much higher risk when there's a bunch of people who are much lower risks who want to be on the program. Yeah, so maybe that's just me, but I thought the central premise of Gattaca was stupid, and the guy should have been excluded from the program, and the little police state who are running things were actually in the right. Maybe that makes me a fascist. Who knows? Again, it was reminding me of something else. No, it's gone now. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big sci-fi geek. I watch lots of sci-fi things. Like I've been watching that comedy-ish version of Star Trek, the one with Seth, what's his name? The Orville. It's basically like he made so much money with Family Guy and American Dad. He's gone to a network and they've said you can do literally whatever you want, and he's gone, cool, I want to do a version of Star Trek, but it'll be funny, and I'm going to be the captain of the starship, and I'm going to be really cool. You know, as things go, if a network gives you complete freedom, that's a fairly fun thing to do, quite honestly. I certainly don't begrudge him living out his childhood fantasies of having his own version of Star Trek with blackjack and hookers. But I mean, I do enjoy it, but I do also find myself picking it apart when they do something that I think is stupid. You know, me, who's not making a TV show, having the audacity to criticize someone who's made a succession of successful TV shows. I'm aware that that's really obnoxious, and I try not to be too negative in these sorts of things. My first sign, I'm so geared up for the federal election, buddy. I wish it was now. I wish it was this weekend. I really wish it was this weekend. Yes, Dr. Obama, you got the Futurama reference. Probably the most annoying thing to me that the Orville does, and I say this as a fan of the show, I like watching it, but the most annoying thing is the continual references to late 20th century and early 21st century pop culture. So basically our world. And it's like, really? They're hundreds of years in the future, but they keep making references to our period in history. Once or twice would have been good, but you know, basically every fucking episode. It's like, God, it wears a bit thin, guys. And they did one episode that was honestly, it was just like a third-rate Black Mirror knockoff. They land on some planet where everything's decided by social media. If you get enough thumbs down on social media for your public actions, you can be executed. And it was like such a lame Black Mirror ripoff. So here we're talking about a Clive Palmer movie. Damn, oh, he's just so boring. He's pathetic. Everything about Clive Palmer is pathetic. And the Liberals are fucking garbage for sucking up to him and doing preference deals with him. I mean, he owes his workers and the tax office tens of millions of dollars at least. Oh, he's swanning around doing whatever. Oh, we'll spend $1 million on a vanity election campaign. Blah, blah, blah. I'm running people all over the place. We could be in power. It's like, and I know he doesn't believe it when he says, you know, we could win government. Like, you can say, okay, technically you could, because you're running enough candidates in enough seats that if they all won, you could form a government. But I know he knows that he's just talking stupid shit and ego boosting. But it's just so fucking annoying having garbage pieces of shit like him debasing public discourse. It's just like, fuck off, man. He should be in jail. Seriously, he's such a scumbag. Ripped off so many people. Hey, Gecko, how's it going? Yeah, David, you reckon Clive might get more votes for it? Look, it is absolutely impossible to know what will happen in the election. There's a whole bunch of fringe groups, and it's weird because Clive Palmer and One Nation look bigger than fringe groups now because there are so many fringe groups pressing on, usually on the extreme right. I think not all, there might be some sort of radical left ones, but they're mostly on the extreme right. And so yeah, the fucking One Nation and Clive Palmer are looking less fringe because of how wacky the real fringe ones are. Dr. Obama, who would I rather have in power? Palmer's party or Hanson's party? Palmer, because Palmer's just a piece of shit. But Hanson is racist, science-denying, misogyny-promoting demagogue. She's fucking contemptible and evil. You know, that is somewhat like, would you rather have your hand slammed in a car door or your head slammed in a car door? I mean, they're both fucking terrible options, and I would choose violent resistance ahead of either. But yeah, no, I have no qualms at all about saying Hanson's the worst. She actively promotes racism, science denial, and misogyny. She's just an evil fucking piece of shit, and her rhetoric puts people's lives in danger. You can't pretend that isn't true anymore. That inflaming, ultra right-wing, white supremacist, Nazi sympathizing fuckbags leads directly to violence. They are equally as guilty as like Islamic hate preachers that inspire suicide bombers and other terrorist attacks. Their rhetoric is a direct instigator of violence and terrorism. Oh, David, Fraser Anning is worse, yes, but he's a non-entity. Anning just keeps doubling down. He just, he got rejected by everyone, including One Nation. And he just keeps making his racism worse and more open and more extreme. And again, he's got this coterie of really violent, known neo-Nazi thugs who follow him. I mean, on the weekend, they were attacking journalists. I think it was, they were from one of the Murdoch rags, the Herald Sun or something. A journo and a photographer got attacked by Fraser Anning. See, Fraser Anning doesn't have a seat. Well, okay, I'm being pedantic. We don't really say people in the Senate have a seat, although some people do. So I think I'm being overly pedantic, and I withdraw that. Anning is, he wasn't even in the position to be in the Senate for One Nation. It's just because the one ahead of him got disqualified, so he inherited it, and then he quit One Nation. It's like ridiculous. So I usually was my text message. Oh, it's the reminder of why I'm doing the live stream tonight rather than tomorrow, because I've got a physio appointment tomorrow. Because my body is falling apart because I am old. But I will also be going to see AngryAussie tomorrow, and that will make me feel better because he's worse than me. That's a terrible thing, isn't it? To say, I'm having all this joint pain, but I'll feel better if I go and see AngryAussie because he's in 1,000 times worse pain than me. Ooh, I like that. Okay, you want if you were US president, make Bill Nye in charge of science and Neil deGrasse head up NASA. Yeah, I mean, Bill Nye you might put him in for education generally. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson would probably really enjoy heading up NASA. Sarah Hansen Young defamation case. She's suing dickhead Lanholm, isn't she? Has there been a resolution of that? I mean, or is it Lanholm or Mark Latham or both? I hope she wins just because they're fucking garbage and they need to be held responsible for their shit. The idea that they can slander anyone, incite violence against anyone, and never face any repercussions. Fuck that noise, as far as I'm concerned. So, Dr. Baymar is Lanholm. Yeah, I thought it was. Well, he's a lying sack of shit, and he deserves whatever he wants. Still laughing that he thought he was going to get on in New South Wales, so he quit his existing Senate seat and ran in New South Wales and then didn't get in. Ha ha fucking ha, you piece of shit. Fucking coasting on the public purse when you public service is the last thing you'll ever do in your life, you self-serving fucking cunt. Ugh, he's such a piece of shit. Sar Patel, AIDS to get well soon. I hope so. This is a serious one, though. He's already been in hospital 3 or 4 weeks, and they do not keep you in hospital that long without good reason. In fact, I was always amazed in the past of how quickly he could get out of hospital. Like, he'd have a complete collapse, go to hospital by ambulance, end up in intensive care, and having to do all these massive blood transfusions on him. And he'd be out in 3 days. And I'd never work out how he managed that, because he really doesn't like hospital and wants to get out. And this time, he's so far been in for 3 or 4 weeks with no projected exit date, which is not good. As I said, the problems with his legs, it started off with varicose veins, but then it's got worse, like some super gross infection caused by sluggish blood in his legs. Yes, it's like a super gross infection that the plastic surgery people are trying to dig out and deal with. And if they're successful, then he'll just be in lots of pain, but eventually get out and probably have even more trouble walking than he used to. I mean, honestly, the worst case scenario is amputating both legs, at least up to the knee, possibly the whole leg. That is his worst case scenario. So his worst case scenario is very, yeah, okay, you say a hospital's not a prison and a person can leave. It's actually not that straightforward. I mean, yes, technically he could demand to be allowed to leave, but then they could declare him to be not in a fit mental state to make that judgment on his own, and have him sectioned, essentially, which actually does, in practical terms, make it a prison. If you get declared unfit to look after yourself, whether mentally or physically, and the institution can then say, well, we're now keeping you here for as long as we say, and you don't have any say in it whatsoever. So, yes. Yeah, look, not many people like hospitals. And AG's stuck just like staring at a wall when he's not sleeping. So I've been trying to see him like a couple times a week. Because I'm going in tomorrow. I've got a job interview tomorrow afternoon, so I'm going to go see him first. Go see him at about lunchtime. Yeah, as you say, Belinda, hospitals have a duty of care if they believe, and this is not a mental health detention, this is if they believe the person physically can't keep going outside a hospital. They can say, no, you can't go, because I think you'll have a complete collapse if you go out on your own, and you'll end up back in hospital in a worse state, costing more in time and resources. See, make no mistake about it, hospitals want to get rid of you as quickly as they can. If a hospital is keeping someone in for a long time, as they are this time with AIDSy, it's for a good reason, and they don't want to do it. They want to get you out. They want to free up the bed. So you're only staying in the bed if something is seriously fucking wrong with you. So in his case, something seriously fucking wrong. Brighten things up. More cocktails that I haven't heard of before. A gin cobbler, which is like a dessert, I suppose. That's sugar and gin and soda water and fruit. Okay. Perfect lady mentioned. Todd's cooler. Oh, that refers to Todd Sloan, an American jockey from the First World War. Invented the drink at one of his favorite places. That's gin, creme de cassis, and lemon juice and soda water. I don't really go for highballs that often. Like ones that are topped with soda water are highballs. Hey, Bebe, thanks. I will pass that on. Safa, no, I'm not pre-voting in this time. Catherine, do I take anything with him to escape his boredom? Just my wonderful company. You know, and I try and give him things to occupy his brain, like talk about projects that he can think of and write scripts for and whatnot. So, you know, when he gets out, we have some pretty wild ideas of things to do. Dr. Obama, the Channel 7 debate was officially declared a victory for Shorten. Yep, that's not difficult. That's like, yeah, I don't know, beating a three-legged horse home. Well, that's an interesting one. A leap year is gin, Grand Marnier, and sweet red vermouth, and lemon juice. See, doesn't this, I love the sound of this one. Monkey gland. Doesn't that sound good? A monkey gland. Oh, and it's got absinthe, so I like it already. It's got gin, orange juice, grenadine, and absinthe. A monkey gland. Might try one of those on the weekend. Don't know that I really want to do a cocktail tonight. Wonderful, see? An RAC, not the Royal Automobile Club. It's, it actually is. No, sorry. It was created, I thought it was something else. It was created on the eve of World War I by the barman at the Royal Automobile Club in London's Pall Mall. Gin, vermouth, so dry vermouth and sweet vermouth and orange bitters. Oh God, that's a really gross coloured one. What's that? A blue star. Gin, nolly pratter, other dry vermouth. Oh yeah, blue curacao. Curacao. Who knows that? Curacao. Election day, I don't want to miss out on democracy sausage. That's the whole thing. As much as that's a cliche. All the rum drinks. Captain's cocktail, white rum, Captain Morgan spice rum, lime juice, sugar, and port. God, I might try that actually. I haven't had port in a drink for ages. I don't know if there's even the rum drinks, the brandy drinks. I'm a big brandy fan. A hard case. I'm a hard case. I should do a hard case. I don't have creme de cassis. Maybe I should get creme de cassis. It's in a few of them. Cognac, creme de cassis, and lemon juice. That sounds like a variation on a sidecar, really, which is one of my favorites. Chartreuse. There's another one that's in a lot of things. One called The Incredibles, cognac, chartreuse, and cherry brandy. Well, there are a lot I haven't seen in there. I have to try some at one point. Gecko, no, you don't stamp down on the mechanical drivers. We write numbers in boxes in Australian electioneering. Electronic electioneering is a fucking nightmare. Like, that is absolutely untrustworthy. Do not believe anyone who says electronic, let alone internet-based voting is secure. It is not. It is completely lacking in security, completely lacking in traceability, completely lacking in verifiability. It is the fucking worst. Electronic voting is 100% untrustworthy. You cannot trust electronic voting at all. I mean, there are ways and means, and has always happened in the past, of people interfering with paper ballots, but electronic voting is fundamentally wrong. It's absolutely untrustworthy. And seriously, just never believe anyone who says electronic voting is secure. They're either a liar, which is the most likely reason. They're a self-interested liar, or they're a fucking moron. But yeah, no, electronic voting is a fucking plague. Dr. Obama, am I a tea person or a coffee person? No, I am not. If I go to a cafe with people for a hot drink, I have hot chocolate. I hate coffee. I hate coffee flavor. I don't like coffee flavored things. And I almost never drink tea. I can kind of tolerate tea, but I just don't like it at all. But I fucking hate coffee. So I will drink tea before I drink coffee, but I basically won't drink tea. Talking about the census and how, oh yeah, they put this electronic lodgement for the last census in Australia, and the system just crashed. It just failed completely, and that's another thing, a voting system crashing. But while that's an issue, it's far lesser issue than it being absolutely untrustworthy. Yeah, God, I'm having trouble letting that go. Electronic voting is just the fucking worst. It is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for corruption. It's a recipe for criminality. It's just the fucking worst. Exactly, Dr. Obama. Like, if you had electronic voting and all the systems crashed on voting day, what the fuck then? Your whole democracy's out the window. Look, you're highlighting cases where you maybe can't completely trust the paper trail for paper voting. And yeah, there have been many cases of people manipulating paper ballots in the past, but it's much lower risk than electronic, like orders of magnitude lower risk than electronic voting. Electronic voting is the fucking worst. No, Mofo, son, you're talking about optical scanning, OCR to speed up. No. The instant you bring in automation, the scope for hidden fraudulent activity goes through the fucking roof. Okay, you do get fraudulent activity in polling booths on occasion, but the instant you introduce anything automated, the scope for fraudulent activity goes through the fucking roof. And you need scrutineers. You need more than one set of eyes checking ballots, and that includes mechanical eyes. Mechanical eyes alone are completely untrustworthy. It's just the fuck. And I work in IT and have done for 20 years, right? And I'm telling you this as an IT professional, any form of electronic activity in voting is a fucking disaster waiting to happen. It is just the worst. And it's only ever promoted by the fucking companies who make money out of it. and you really got to look at actual real cases in the US of the people who make voting machines publicly expressing extremely partisan views and being involved in campaigns for Republicans. It's just like, fucking hell. You're right, Charlie. There'll be a few dick drawings to take into account when you're counting ballots. I know when I was a youth, I would write things all over the ballots about, fuck all of you people. Exactly, Mofo-san. You can't get the source code of these voting machines. And they've proven trivially easy to hack. Now, see, Mofo-san, you're falling down the trap again. You're saying, oh, the source code has to be open source because that's a lesser risk. No, it's no lesser risk whatsoever. Because the people who make the machines can change the code. It's just ridiculous. Timothy, the show had snow. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Yes, Safa, being unable to draw digital dicks on digital voting is such an infringement of our rights, quite honestly. Dr. Obama, why don't we have monitored voting like the Philippines? I am not in a position to answer that because I don't know how they do voting in the Philippines as compared to here. I do remember retail in the Philippines, like going to a department store, when you went to buy something, it had to pass through 3 or 4 shop assistants' hands. And I did get told that was to reduce the chance of theft. Like if there was only one person on the register, they might have an accomplice going shopping and they'd be pulling a scam or something. But if it passed through multiple hands, it's much harder to conspire to steal stuff. So I don't know if that's what they do with voting, that a whole bunch of people look at the votes and make sure it's valid. Because, yes, labor is cheap in the Philippines. That's another reason they do those things, because labor is cheap, so they can do it. Yeah, like stuff like when the airport system crashes, like they did in Australia today or yesterday. So you think we should help to elect the pollies like Australia Idol, just send text messages? Yeah, maybe. It's just we just keep falling down this popularity contest bullshit. Like someone highlighted a thing on Twitter. They showed these 2 paragraphs and said this sums up how shit what passes for political reporting is in Australia. It had journalists have been commenting that Morrison's campaign is much more vibrant than Shorten's. I forgot his name for a second. Morrison's been filmed doing stuff. He's been running Aussie. He's been on the farm. He's been in this. He's Morrison's doing stuff. I was going, who the fuck cares if Morrison is giving you better photo ops, you fucking garbage dicks? It's like you are meant to be serious and talking about policies and picking out when the politicians are lying and explaining to people what the policies will really do as opposed to what the politicians say they will do. And you're just spouting this fucking drivel about Morrison's giving you more photo opportunities. Fuck off, you morons. Can't you tell why people think you're fucking scum? So if I know democracy sausages aren't free, they're usually a fundraiser at the polling place because a lot of schools are polling places. They're usually fundraisers for the schools. Timothy, no, we don't make fake spoilers for Game of Thrones because that will spoil people's enjoyment too. Plus, if you say something that's not, and then you say, oh, it's not true. But then they know that's not happening because it's Game of Thrones. Literally fucking anyone could die. Anything could happen. You know, tonight's episode was a war against the fucking dead. It's not going to be pretty. So if you start saying, oh, and then when people get upset, you go, oh, it's fake. Well, okay, well, now I know that doesn't happen. So I don't think fake spoilers are funny either. Like I had someone, a friend of mine, someone who's quite nice, just with no warning on Twitter, do an Endgame spoiler. About, oh, I can't believe such and such dies. Oh, that sucks. And I was like, what? I actually didn't say anything because they're in a very frail emotional and mental health state, and they probably wouldn't cope well with me jumping down their throat saying, what in the ever loving fuck? What the fuck? Why would you do that? I don't think they'd cope very well. I also found out they were wrong, so I don't know if they were jokingly doing a fake spoiler or they're just not very good at picking up detail. I mean, I had a friend who I still want to get on a live stream or a podcast or something who says I'm evil for doing spoilers for something that's been out for years. And I'm like, no, I got that. It's like for Endgame, I think you should at least wait a couple of weeks still before going spoilers. Then within a couple of weeks, I think people who are really invested in it will have gone. And plus, it'll be fucking impossible to avoid spoilers after a couple of weeks. So if you really don't want a spoiler, you should go and see the movie. And she said I was being elitist because not everyone can afford to see the movie. And I'm like, yeah, no, there are fucking limits. But I think it should be at least a couple more weeks for Endgame, and definitely don't say anything about Game of Thrones for at least a week. I think Game of Thrones probably a week. Anyone who's going to see it, who's invested in it, will have seen Game of Thrones within a week. And again, it'll be impossible to avoid spoilers after that time. But yeah, I mean, like, she got super upset with me because I talked about everyone dying in Rogue One, the Star Wars movie, Rogue One. And it's like, and she said, like, oh, you say spoilers. Like, the movie's been out for over a fucking year. And it's like more now, but at the time it'd been out for more than a year. Oh, some people are making it. And I'm like, no, fuck that. Nah. There are limits. There are absolute fucking limits on the duration for spoilers. I mean, I remember what's his name, who plays Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit movies, quite some time after the movie had been out, he said something on one of these chat shows. I think he mentioned Smaug dying, the dragon dying, and the movie had been out for ages at this point, and the person says, "Oh, that's a bit of a spoiler, isn't it?" And he just looks at them and goes, "The book was written in 1950." It's like, there are some things that it's absolutely fucking ridiculous to say, oh, spoiler. Oh, no, Gecko, you've been doing Uber driving. Oh, yeah, be picking up people after going to the movies. I'll just want to be talking about it all the time. Safa, were spoilers less common before broadband? I don't know. The internet definitely changed everything because so much of the internet is just about discussion. people discussing stuff, and of course they're like, well, I've seen it, I've read it, I've watched it, so I want to talk about it. And the internet generally has increased your likelihood of seeing spoilers. I still remember, because seriously, I'm old, right? Back in the 80s and even into the 90s, we used to have to wait ages for something to come out in Australia. Months, or I'm not exaggerating, in some cases years, for a movie or TV show to come out in Australia. Like, it was common for us to be a full year behind the US in TV shows. And a notable one for, when was it? Early 90s? Twin Peaks. For a spoiler, it was Who Killed Laura Palmer, which David Lynch never wanted a killer to be found, but he was forced into just creating a killer, which was revealed in the last episode of season 1. And it had been out for months in the US before we saw, like at least 6 months. And media generally tended not to do it. And I remember seeing one reference in a newspaper to, because we didn't get that much American, we got hardly any American entertainment TV here, and we didn't get American magazines or newspapers here. You didn't have online news because online didn't exist. And I remember one newspaper had a reference to some guy in an office had a friend in the US who told him the spoiler, and everyone in the office went, don't tell us, don't tell us. He said, okay. And what he did is he put a thing on the notice board with a folded over piece of paper and said on the top, like, lift this flap if you want to know who killed Laura Palmer. So you didn't have to see it. And he said, basically, everyone in the office had looked by the end of the first day. And so I'm, and then some fuckhead, I think it was Peter Luck, newspaper columnist, just with no warning whatsoever, in a newspaper column goes, oh, someone got upset because I told them that Laura Palmer's father killed her. And I was like, dude, if I see you in the street, I'm going to kick the fucking shit out of you. You fucking wanker. That was like such a cunt act. Oh yeah, Dr. Obama, there's that video of someone getting beaten up, walking out of an end game session and shouting spoilers at the people in the line. So they got the shit kicked out of them. Yeah, Catherine, we never got Who Shot Mr. Burns spoiled. Although, oh my God, what did happen? Actually, there was a collectible shop in Sydney that was selling animation cell, and it was of Maggie shooting Mr. Burns. And I saw that before that episode went to air. So I was like, oh. Dr. Obama, didn't Clockwork Orange get released in the 80s? I don't know. I know what you're talking about because it was potentially banned. We do a quick search, seeing our normal Google searcher. This Foxification is not in tonight. List of films banned in Australia. In 1912, all films about bush ranging were banned. Jesus, All Quiet on the Western Front got banned in Australia. Holy crap. Apparently, in this period, in the 30s, Creswell O'Reilly was our chief censor and he banned lots of shit. Wow. There was a film called The Blonde Captive. It was actually deemed prejudicial to Australian Aborigines. Good God. It's weird that Australia thought you could say anything bad about Aborigines. Oh, a few Fellini films got banned. R.J. Prowse was chief censor. They liked to ban shit in the 60s. Oh yes, Pink Flamingos, the film with Divine in it, was banned for ages. Oh, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was banned. Salo or 120 Days of Sodom was banned. Although it did get released eventually. 77, In the Realm of the Senses was banned. Cannibal. Oh, Caligula, softcore porn film. Caligula was banned. Faces of Death. Oh, these are all these straight to video things. Faces of Death. Cannibal Apocalypse. Cannibal Holocaust. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Last House on the Left, another horror film. Bad Taste. That's a Peter Jackson film. You do get the uncut version on DVD, which I have. No, it looks like Clockwork Orange was never. Well, that's interesting. I Spit on Your Grave, which was an 80s exploitation film, which was originally released with an R rating, got banned in 97, more than 10 years after release, because a whole bunch of stuff got banned in the 90s, but then it was unbanned again. Oh, I remember. Here's a couple more recent ones. The baise-moi, which is French for fuck me or fuck you, for sexual violence. I think the uncut film is still banned. Ken Park, a Serbian film. That's a really full-on violent film, is still banned. Human Centipede 2, the uncut version is banned, but apparently with 30 seconds cut out, it's okay. I thought Irreversible was banned at one point, but anyway. So no, Clockwork Orange, not banned. Australia's censors get a bit ban happy sometimes. Safa, you're right about a series of Underbelly was banned in Victoria because there was still ongoing court cases. But there's a crime series called Blue Murder from the 80s about Roger Rogerson. I still don't know if you're allowed to screen that on TV in New South Wales because of the laws in New South Wales. Jessica, hi, from Mimsy to you. Dr. Palmer, is it illegal to watch banned movies? It is illegal to possess banned movies, like on disc or digital, and it is illegal to screen banned movies. So and this has happened on occasion, some very high-profile people think a particular film should not have been banned, and they organize a screening at a cinema. I don't think people in the audience will get charged with anything, but the venue can get charged. But yes, if you own a personal copy of a banned movie or publication, that's a criminal act. And if you get prosecuted, it can be quite serious. Because yeah, they make you look like you're into kiddie porn if you do that, because if it's banned, it's as illegal as like kiddie porn. Yeah, Serbian film, a lot of people, there must be a lot of copies of a Serbian film going about, because a lot of people have told me to watch it. I haven't watched it. Sorry, Timothy, I missed your question. How many election sausages will I be getting? Probably only the one. Depends how good they are. And depends what time I'm there. PBR, did Kubrick withdraw Clockwork Orange or wouldn't allow DVD release? I don't know. That I do not know. Kubrick was a notoriously thorny person. Okay, I did find an article. Why Stanley Kubrick banned A Clockwork Orange? I think he maybe didn't want it cut. Would yeah, people were upset about Clockwork Orange, stood by it. Huh. So he certainly didn't want any censorship on it. So it says he pulled the film from release for a while after threats were made against his family. All right, and then there were. Oh yeah, so he withdrew the film from circulation in the UK, and that stayed in place until he died. And it's because there was some violent crime that people tried to claim was inspired by A Clockwork Orange, and he didn't want to wear that. The actor of Alex, Malcolm McDowell, an English person. I liked the episode of South Park where they did Pip and Great Expectations, and they made it legitimate by having Malcolm McDowell, an English person, introduce and narrate it. Adele, yes. Social media does cause spoils. I don't want to be part of it. Safa, what about contempt of court hearings for Pell journalists? Yeah, there's a lot of journalists who have actually been cited in contempt proceedings, and I don't know what the status of that is. They're probably in serious trouble because the legal system does take suppression orders very seriously for very good reason. So, yeah, even though what they're getting in trouble is saying is like, well, search any media outside Australia for what's the big story in Australia we're not allowed to report on, and you'll find out why we're upset. And of course, I think, isn't his appeal hearing in May? Oh, it'll be fucking devastating if he gets off on a technicality on appeal. Jessica, no, I didn't watch the Lego Master Show. I did see people talking about it on social media, but I didn't. Safa, is Victoria the most censored state in Victoria? Censorship of stuff on the state level usually only happens because of legal proceedings and the idea that something could prejudice legal proceedings. And I think that's in all the states. It's basically if a judge decides publication of details, even dramatization of details, could affect an ongoing court case, it'll get suppressed. So I don't think things like films and books get censored at the federal level. I'm not sure that any of that happens at the state level. I think at the state level, the only thing that happens is suppression orders that are about pending legal cases. I could easily be wrong. Sorry, yawn coming up. I think it's only on pending legal cases. But as the thing. Oh, I've got PBR, people on the train talking about Avengers. Fuck that. Well, as I was saying, last I heard, there was a bloody, true crime show about corrupt cop Roger Rogerson made in the 80s. Last I heard, it still wasn't legal to show it in New South Wales. So, yeah. Ugh. It's another thing, you yawn once, then you just can't stop yawning. Yeah, I don't know about the Pell case and whether reporting it would have affected anything. Because it's so easy to get stuff. Oh yeah, Roger Rogerson is come, and he was finally, he was convicted very late in life. I think he was convicted either of murder or conspiracy to murder. And I'll think about a drug deal. Yeah, but oh God, I can't stop yawning here. Oh. Yeah, Splinter, one series of Underbelly was about the Victorian gang wars, and there was still ongoing stuff. So that season couldn't be broadcast in Victoria. Dr. Barber, what if we put the Roger Rogerson series, like drive-in style, projected on a billboard on the border in New South Wales? I personally wouldn't do it because being made a scapegoat for that sort of thing is not something I'm into. I can't stop yawning. This is ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, you on a much rarer case in Australia, you'll get publication of something being blocked, because it's perceived as slander or libel. It's far more often to do with legal proceedings. I've got to go to bed. Why can't I stop yawning? Oh my God, I don't know what that's about. Yeah, Adele, the Pell thing was because there was still one case that was planned to go ahead, but after they got the conviction, the second prosecution was withdrawn, so then it could be reported on. And now, of course, there is still an appeal. I'm not sure how many appeals he's allowed. Got sympathy yawns. That's a form of hypnotism. Making people yawn by yawning at them. Okay, I'll do it again. Oh. It's actually a form of hypnotism. Hypnotism is just making people suggestible, essentially. And it's remarkable how easy it is to manipulate people. Like everyone's like, oh, I've got a rock solid brain. You can't make me do anything. You can't change me. No, brains are bizarrely easy to manipulate. And I think I'm gonna have to go to bed. I can't stop yawning. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm gonna get some rest. I've got a job interview tomorrow. So how about that Abbott attack ad? I don't know which Abbott attack ad you refer to. Yeah, I actually think I'm going to have to go. I can't stop yawning. I'm going to do it again. I don't know why. I actually do feel tired. You know, sometimes you yawn. Yeah, but I don't feel tired. I do feel tired. Oh, good God. Oh. Wow. Oh, Get Up did an Abbott attack ad. Well, that's funny. I'm kind of on board with Get Up because they upset the Conservative people so much. I am actually going to go. I'm going to pull the pin about half an hour early because I can't stop yawning. I just cannot stop yawning. I need to get some sleepy bobos. But thank you for hanging out. It's always good to have you folk hanging out. And I'll be doing it again soon. I might try and make a video tomorrow. We'll see. Tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. And then maybe another live stream on Thursday as the usual. One way or the other. I'll see you again soon. Hope you look after yourselves and avoid spoilers you want to avoid. And I will see you again soon. But I will say bye for now. Bye-bye.